pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dave?
Thank you, Lord, for bringing us together one more time. And Lord, just continue to guide us, give us wisdom. Lord, lay your protecting hand on all those people that are being affected by the fires and all the first responders that are involved in it. Lord, we don't understand why some of these things happen, but we know that you have it under control. So it's in your hands. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Roll call. Councilman Charlton is absent. He is out helping our neighbors with fires going on, so wish him safety and the best of luck in getting those under control. But we do have a quorum for our meeting, so we will proceed with business and start with the approval of tonight's agenda. Does any council member have any questions on the agenda as presented or any modifications to it?
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Do we have any citizen comments tonight? Hearing no citizen comments, we'll move on to our consent agenda. That includes the minutes of our February 2nd meeting and appropriations ordinance 1310.
I have one question. The one that's at, the check is made to building controls and services for our public works HVAC. Is that to do with that new boiler, or is this something totally separate?
Yes and no. It had to do with trying to diagnose some other heat issues in the main office area and also diagnosing that. So it's a little bit of both. But yeah, it's at Public Works.
So
And that included the new controller, right?
Yes.
it did include what?
We had to put the controller for one of the units went out, and they couldn't get parts for it. It's completely discontinued, and they've used all their supply of parts and replacements, so they had to put a new one in, and then they had to create the programming and everything for it in our system. So that's why it's so large.
And that was in the office part.
Yes. It has nothing to do with what you approved last week.
Well,
We were,
Or 2 weeks ago.
Will this stuff reciprocate with that new boiler and all that?
the boiler parts, just the radiant floor heating in the shop.
Two separate.
The whole place was having issues, all the things.
This took care of the offices and the break area. What you approved last time took care of the shop, basically.
Okay.
Council, any other questions on the consent agenda?
I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve tonight's consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda approved. All right, moving on to our items of business tonight. First is an ordinance proposal number 1133, which would adjust where angle parking is allowed here in Greensburg.
A request has been made for angle parking in front of the new child care triplex over here on Main Street. And you'll see I put a map there so you can get a visual of what that looks like. There are now 2 daycare providers going in there, and so during pickup and drop-off time specifically, it doesn't allow for a lot of parking there if everybody's parking parallel. So I looked into our ordinance regarding angle parking, and it actually already covers that block from Iowa to Grant Avenue, but it does specify just in front of the senior center for some reason, not that entire block. So just to clean it up, it would be my recommendation to pass this ordinance just to omit that part of the sentence that says in front of the senior center, so it just reads Iowa to Grant on the west side of Main Street.
council. Any questions on the proposed ordinance?
It will allow more parking than parallel parking,
Yes,
Much more.
and probably be a little safer.
yeah.
Easier.
Years ago, prior to the tornado, there was also an ordinance, J-turns, to go along with parallel parking. That was put in when I was on the council, way pre-tornado.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still in place? Because there was signs up and down Main Street that said no J-turns.
I don't believe so. I'd have to do some research into that.
It would have been after 2000.
Yeah, I remember that on Main Street
Yep.
being J-turns, but
Do you remember that, Jason?
Oh, yeah.
I remember them being there.
I would have to do some research to
I
see.
mean, I'm not against the angle parking.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just something that, when this was brought up, that I thought, wait a minute, there used to be a J-turn ordinance.
Is that addressed,
Yes, I agree. Yep.
that's not addressed in STO at all, is it?
You see a lot of them,
Okay,
you see a lot of them on Main Street doing it. And we don't have as much room there now as what we used to have. I see them back out doing that.
mm-hmm.
You have to see if it got rescinded or.
Yeah, I'll do some research on that.
Well, they also said stop signs all the way up down Walnut Street too. Before,
When the hospital was there.
I think for the ambulance route when the
but
hospital.
yeah, they had yield signs, and then there was a bad wreck there on northwest corner of the little park block. So then they had to go put up stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
They never got replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't bother me, I'm just saying.
I think it would be a good idea to install that in front of this.
And if the city were to adopt this ordinance, we would go ahead and strike that for angle.
Yeah, now that it's warmer temperatures for the paint, we'll see timing wise, but I know the pavement needs to be a certain temperature for the marking paint.
And that would be very helpful if we do angle parking there to have those stripes. 'cause-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 1133.
I'll second it.
Was there a question?
No, comment.
Comment.
Yeah, we've already got it all the way up here too.
Yeah. Well, it has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance 1133 to extend angle parking on Main Street to include the section in front of the daycares. Any further discussion? Ordinance is a roll call vote. Vernon.
Yay.
Keaton. Aye. Drummond.
Yes.
West.
Yep.
4 ways to say yes.
I'll break the train.
Ordinance passes 4-0. All right. That takes care of our first item of business tonight. So we will move on to our second item of business, and that's just a discussion on the street condition on West Illinois out around by the Quick Pick.
We have had many internal staff conversations of this area for several years on what to do to maintain our streets along, specifically along Illinois in that several block area and then on Grove Street. Just a little history, those streets in particular are chip seal. They were not redone to asphalt after the tornado, and so they're not made for heavier truck traffic. And due to both our ordinance that allows for commercial truck parking in this area and partially because the Quick Pick is located there, we're seeing a lot of trucks parking there overnight, which, I don't want the city to hinder commerce at all. Well, sales tax revenue and revenue to our businesses is very important. And so I don't want to hinder that in any way, but at the same time, we need to protect our infrastructure. Our guys have tried patching and doing some things in that area, but it really is not holding it all. And even KDOT a couple times on the portions that border the highway there, they've gone in and patched a couple times too. And it doesn't take very long, a week or two, and they're knocked back out again. This has really come to light in the last couple weeks after the snow just behind the Cornerstone Church tree row there. Now we've put some barricades up because there's quite a hole that's been dug there. So just wanted to bring it to you for discussion on how you might want to proceed. The best fix, but the definitely most costly fix would to be go through there and put asphalt in and make it truck ready, that they could park there, but that is a significant investment. There is some potential grant opportunity through the KDOT cost share program that could cover part of it, but we're still looking at a pretty significant city investment. Do you want to look at regulating truck parking in that area in some way? We've been down that road a little bit with some truck routes. As I indicated in my memo, in 2013, there were some truck routes put in place and then pretty quickly rescinded the next year after some feedback from our agricultural community. So that's kind of just an overview. I provided you some pictures. Would just like to have a conversation about how you might like to proceed there.
I guess I have a question on if we were to try and repair or alter the streets to try and accommodate that heavier traffic. Are we looking at maybe just an overlay, or would we need to be looking at rebuilding the base of the road
I
completely?
think you're completely milling it down and starting over. I think there's no
I think you'd have
base.
to do more than mill it down. I think you'd have to take it down.
Right,
below
you'd
the
have to get a
surface of the curve.
base because there's no base.
It's
And it's-
been,
Sorry.
it's been, we've let it go so long now that it's beyond, that street is beyond repair with what we have there now. It would have to come completely up. And I mean, you're talking from Main Street, Clear Bay,
Mm-hmm.
because they do park in that
They do.
second block, or third block, should I say.
And it
Not as
seems,
much, but, and a lot of these places that are tore up are old utility services, that the street has been cut.
some, yeah,
There's 2 or 3 down.
further
there.
down. Some places where it's on the edge and it's thinner.
It's real thin,
Mm-hmm.
which that's the
Mostly.
way all the old streets in town are.
Right,
Where the damage is along the edges of the road.
yeah,
Middle of the road is fine.
yeah, for the most
spots,
part.
Yes, but I'm just gonna say, I worked here for 9.5 years, I worked in the street department, and this was let go way too long. When the holes start and then nobody touches them, they just get worse and worse and bigger and bigger. I'm not saying the guys didn't put stuff in it, but they needed to tear it out, repack it, like take it down some and repack it every 6 inches, not throw in half the truck. But I'm not saying they did that either, but apparently it wasn't tampered very well because it's gotten bad, especially right there behind Quick Pick going clear across the road. That needs to be dug down some and re-tamped and re-put asphalt, even if it's 3 inches deep right in there. But you can see where they got alligator skins along the edges. That stuff should have been taken care of long ago. The stuff right there behind Baptist Church, like I said,
How heavily traveled is that road?
That's another thing, you know, where it's located, there's no residences there. It's in the KDOT right away. KDOT owns nearly all that property, well, west of Main Street, that block. So really by local traffic, it's not a ton of traffic, other than people maybe going to the Quick Pick. It's really the trucks.
Would a better option be to build a large parking lot for trucks to park in, rather than, and keep them off of that road?
Part of the discussion to have.
Quick Pick's got one, but he don't take care of it, so. He's got rock piles that he's never spread out, been there for,
I'm really surprised that they haven't busted that curve all up on the
That's
north
something
side, right behind Quick Pick.
Neither
Because
way.
they drive in there out of the street to get in there.
we need to talk to the owner, see about him putting up a pipe fence or something, so they can't do that, otherwise,
What-
we get charged for fixing the curb and stuff.
I've been attempting to have some conversations with them over several months.
What would it be like if we just tore the asphalt out, went in, cut it down a ways, filled it back in, packed it back in, and just let no asphalt? We got a road grader.
And that's, to go back to your comments, you know, some of the equipment we had before the tornado, we don't have anymore. The roller we have is very old and small. It's classic, yeah.
Memories.
So really to do it right, we would need some different equipment or to outsource some of it. But that, that I think is a valid question. Given where that is located, to me, it would be different if we were talking about a residential street with houses along the side or businesses right there. There's not going to be any development there because that's in the KDOT right away. So these are the questions we've been going round and round about internally and why I bring it to you, how you might like to proceed.
I mean, to me, the question is, like you said, there's gonna be no development there or anything. How much money do you wanna put into a back street?
Exactly.
If you wanna go in and dig it out and relay it with asphalt, you're talking a ton of money. I'd rather put that money into other streets in town.
Have houses and businesses in front of
Or
it.
even if you got some chips,
We got
Asphalt
other streets in town.
Yeah.
I mean, you can dig all that stuff out, see where it's alligatored out, skinned out. You can dig that out. Might go down somewhere, get to dry dirt, or you put more dry dirt in there. Because chips are cheaper than asphalt,
Oh, yeah.
you know? And then you can seal over the asphalt chips.
Mhm.
That'll too, but I don't think we need to worry about the middle of the street, because that's basically pretty good, except where
Yeah, on the
it
edges.
goes, or it goes across where they had a line or something
Mhm.
going on. But, and also, I don't know, devil's advocate's not, that street sweeper, I don't know why it's not running when the weather permits for it. The corner of Walnut and Illinois, on this side, there's a gutter.
Mhm.
It's got built up going back to the west, there's a mud flap sitting in there.
Mm.
You can't soon drive around, you don't see that stuff. I'm just saying, that's just what I seen driving yesterday. I drove around there. There's sediment built up in curbs. If they would maintain that, get that stuff out of there, you can get the weeds out of the cracks and everything else, but to let the alligator skin get like it did, even though it's not a well-traveled street, now we got this problem. And I just think
Well,
that that's a lack of.
I think part of it, because of the highway corridor, for many years, the thought was, we're not gonna make any investments at all there, because I think shortly after the tornado, the thought was the highway project might happen fairly quickly. And then that hasn't materialized, I think, as some maybe hoped, and so it's been quite a few years of deferred maintenance, we'll say that.
If we done something with Illinois Street there for, say, 2 blocks,
Mm-hmm.
would we have to do anything with Grove Street on the east side quickly?
Yeah, something needs to be done there too. As you come out of their driveway alley, in one of the pictures I showed you, and then on the other side, there's quite a deep
There was a,
that's,
Are you talking about on Bay Street?
no, on
If-
Grove.
yeah, there was a, coming off the highway there on Grove, there used to be a hole there. If you weren't in a high-profile vehicle, you couldn't see out of the hole, see if there's anybody coming.
Well, and I think part of the concern is somebody in a passenger vehicle that's lower,
I know.
and that's why they put barricades around that spot, because if somebody drove over that, it could tear a vehicle up.
And that's what's actually gonna happen in time to behind Quickbit.
Right,
With all the cracks in that street, they're slowly taking on moisture and
yeah.
I also think that need to put a no U-turn sign on Bay Street, because they'll go down there to Ohio, make a big old turn, or right there in Illinois, make a turn, because apparently they're not smart enough just to go around the
Go
block.
around the block.
Maybe put a sign up, like a bigger sign that says, go around the block. You gotta put it in different languages, I guess, because different languages. I'm kind of profiling right now, because that's how I feel about it. It's ridiculous. I know it's not a well-traveled street, but it shouldn't have got this bad.
Well, I think really what would be beneficial is to have some options and price tags attached with those options as far as, I mean, you're absolutely right, Mark, given the minimal local use of these streets, doesn't really make sense to invest a lot of city resources into building them back up. And, just
How
what
much
are options?
investment do they come with trucks, you know what I'm saying, for tax-wise, they come in there and.
Yeah,
It's minimal probably, but something coming in.
Well, and if we tear that out and just put gravel or asphalt chips in there, and then it rains and gets soft and it's rough for the trucks too, then do they just move farther down and
No,
start,
they'll get
and start
stuck.
parking on residential streets that are
They're-
actually used regularly?
They're not allowed
It's against
to.
the law.
Yeah,
So in my memo, I've included a map, so it's kind of small, but basically it's a 2-block area north of the highway and really half a block to the south. So anything that's zoned commercial is where truck parking currently is allowed. So basically from Florida Street to the highway and then Ohio to the highway. Where asphalt streets were redone, so Bay and Ohio, when they park there, we're not seeming to have the problems because those were redone in asphalt after the tornado. It's really these chip seal streets that didn't get redone or have regular maintenance that we're seeing the crumbling happen. So I know that the chief of police has addressed truck parking in town several times when people have been outside of the commercial zone. So if it did push people somewhere else, it would get addressed.
When it's harvest time, do you remember, is there a lot of trucks when they're backed up, do they just keep going down Main Street? Do they go west on Illinois too?
Not necessarily as much. I'll tell you, there is some traffic, mostly people who live north out of town, and like, co-op, when they come out of Dillon's, they'll fly across the highway so they don't have to deal with the light, so they'll go up, and then either take Ohio or Iowa, but not, of course, the passenger cars or the pickups aren't doing that.
There's something else you think about, just blocking off those 2 blocks. Going east and west, not worried about north and south, but behind church and then over with it. Sometimes, I mean, I don't know, that one behind the church is pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna be, that right there is gonna be the most cost out of the whole streets right there, but I don't think we need to worry about the center. It's holding up pretty good, it's
Yeah,
just those
so the
edges.
edges where they're
Like
parking.
The snow staying on, because it's the north side of the trees.
Yep.
It's kinda like here, the Twilight Theater, you know, the north side, used to be the high school.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't get the snow off, it was ice for a long time, you know? So that moisture is gonna sit there, and since it's alligated out, all that moisture went down in there, and that's why that dirt's all
Mm-hmm.
muddy. But I mean, I don't know, that could be an option too, maybe to shut down that one block, east and west.
I think you could put signs up that says no trucks on these streets, and it wouldn't make no difference. They're gonna use it.
Unless you're gonna enforce it. And
They're gonna use it anyway. He can't be there 24 hours a day.
he can't.
But if
And he
you don't
doesn't
put a
want
sign
it.
up, we can enforce it.
And they just, I mean, we have trucks that drive all over town, whether they're delivering or not, just so they can get where they need to go. And that was the big brouhaha in 13, when we
Right.
talked about a truck route, because if we make truck routes, oh, the co-op's gonna go broke and all this and that. Well, I'll tell you what, just check the price of grain, that'll tell you which direction to go. They would rather come down Main Street to stay away from the junction out here or have to come in on the highway. So they're gonna go wherever they want. So I guess you can beef things up or,
Well, the other thing, like you got a bad blizzard and you have to pull off because there's no
Right.
travel on highways, you know, you can't pearl over on residential streets and all that stuff, so nobody wants to be paying about that.
But if it's a disaster, that's different. If we're in a tornado or a weather
A
disaster,
storm, yeah.
then they get pulled over and you guys
Yeah.
help them park.
Yeah, the
Right,
issue,
you know, but I'm just saying, like, don't make a big deal out of blizzard, can be, you know, they can't go
Yeah.
nowhere, they have to pull over and stop, and they're all over the place, because they're, what, 13, 14? Well, it wasn't even that long ago, they had to pull over, and
Mm-hmm.
we had trucks everywhere, you know?
I think very occasional instances like that is not what's gotten the street in the condition it is. It's
No,
just
no,
the
I'm just
the day
saying-
in, day out,
It's
constant
a happen,
traffic. It's
they
not.
could be aware that things happen.
could we talk to one of our local road companies here? See what their thoughts would be on it?
Yeah, I know Mick was already having a conversation with the local road company, to kind of maybe get some ballpark pricing of what asphalt would look like if you wanted to go that route, but he hadn't got a price yet. But it would be a significant investment.
It would be, that's why
But what would it look like to mill it all down? And,
I would like to see what their thoughts on an alternative
Okay,
to asphalt would be.
yeah,
I think to go back and put asphalt in there, we're gonna spend a ton of money and see it tore up again. And I don't know what Quick Fix thoughts are on this. I mean, we can't, it's a stream of revenue for them and we can't stop that. I mean, look at what they've tried on their parking lot on the west side. I don't know how many different things they've tried.
Dave had mentioned creating a parking lot. Do you want to address liability of the city parking lot?
yeah, we kind of looked into a city parking lot, I don't know, a couple years ago maybe. I know like Coldwater and Protection both have city-owned properties, they have where you can plug in and, but there's some liability with,
That doesn't take care of over the road trucks.
right, it's more for local use versus over-the-road
Local
truckers.
people.
And that's really what we're,
Cause I think they
Looking
rent
at.
those stalls. if I-
they do. You know, we could explore some kind of parking lot where that would be located, I'm not sure, we would have to.
There's one
get-
north of the railroad tracks up on Day Street.
Yeah,
Privately owned.
privately owned property, through town, but, you know, if that was something that the governing body was interested in exploring, I can do some research and see, you know, but being city property or private property, depending, there could be some liability.
You're gonna have the same issues of that you have with this street.
Yeah.
And then there's maintenance. And
If
then,
not worse.
are you pouring concrete or asphalt to build it?
If you don't believe me, go over to Mullenville to the quick shop over there on the east side of it. See what their parking lot looks like. Especially when it rains.
Yeah.
I think you were in Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes. There's people such as APAC do things like that also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, venture, you know, all the, like the highway companies you see doing highway projects.
That would be a small scale project to them.
It is, yeah.
You know, they might give us some insight.
Mhm.
It don't look like there's enough material for them to come in there and reclaim it. I don't know, they might be, but. I don't know.
Yeah,
They might-
those edges are real thin.
Yeah. But reclaiming would be all right too, but that's not cheap either.
Is there a way to judge actually how many cars, trucks go down that road every month on average? I mean,
We'd have to get a traffic counter to do that, you know. I've kind of spitball counted on some evenings just to see, and you know, there's 20 trucks or more parked there sometimes along the street. And I feel like it's increasing, like, over the years, it's grown. At first, it was just a handful kind of around there, but now you'll see them all the way down Illinois.
Depends on the weather too. In the wintertime, if the roads get slick,
Yeah.
those blocks could all be circled down.
Yeah.
And the bad thing I hate about it, I mean, I know they gotta get off the road, but one thing that really bothers me about it is they park there and they leave in the morning, they throw their trash out there on the curb. What, Dennis does that, is that what you're saying?
A lot of stuff.
Looking
He has
for donuts.
addressed.
We can tell you a story after the meeting.
I've often wondered why we didn't put a couple dumpsters down there or something. That don't mean they'll use them.
Because then people will come and dump tires and mattresses in them.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
And then we'll hear from Jason about it.
Be full before you get back to where you said it.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm hearing some direction of maybe exploring some alternative options to asphalt in how we could make some repairs, but not break the bank.
Also, just idle question, I mean, if there is minimal local traffic on that road and very small prospects for ever having a lot of local traffic on that section of the road, is there a process the city would just close it?
Yes. Baiting streets are possible.
So, I mean,
just
just,
what I was saying, like, maybe close the one off between, behind the church, between Sycamore and wall there. Because that's what I'm saying, where the trucks go in the harvest when they're backed up, you know, because they're gonna spread everywhere just to get to where they can get in line and everything else, so. There's still room for going down Sycamore and turning on Illinois to Main Street. But maybe that spot behind the church is just too far gone. But the middle of the road looks good. It's just the edges are.
Yeah.
I think really what would be helpful is a number of different options, ballpark figures of what the cost would be, and then just council needs to decide how much, if any, of our resources we want to invest in repairing that road, maintaining that road going forward. That sound reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Middle of the road looking good. Could we cut it down to one lane? One direction?
I mean, yes, you could.
An option.
But would we need to, or want to, like, move the gutters? Because that
Yeah.
entire thing is curb and guttered still, right? For the most part,
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
Because in theory, yes, you could, but,
But it's still big expense.
right.
I don't know that we're looking for any action tonight, just kind
No,
of.
this is just really for discussion. Get some guidance and feedback.
Well, council, any further discussion on the street condition on West Illinois? Or maybe just gather some more information, get some options, and then go from there?
Yep. That's what I think we need to do, just get some options, figures.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. All right, with that, we will move on to our next item of business, and that is a funding request from tourism for the mural project that's been discussed for the last year or so.
The last
I'll let
several years.
Heather
Yeah.
take it away.
So Stacy and I are just gonna kind of tag team this. Briefly, I know we have new members since the first time, and even the last time I came and addressed. Big picture, we plan to, we will be putting a mural on the old pool house out at Davis Park. We've chosen the artist Dave Lowenstein out of Lawrence. He's internationally known, not just for his murals, but also he's got other art pieces all across the world in pretty exclusive collections. The mural, the plan is to do a 360-degree mural so people can get up close and personal, something you can see while you're traveling on the highway, and something that makes people want to stop and check things out, and then see what else Greensburg has to offer further into town. So you guys know I've been passionate about this for a long time. It's something we've been working on and had meetings and so on and so forth. The funding has gone a little slower, and we've come up shorter than expected as far as grants. I did apply for the Heartland grant. That's something through the People's Bank that they give out every year. We were not selected for that grant. That was $50,000 that I requested there. We also applied for the SEED grant, which is a Department of Commerce grant. That was $25,000. We were not selected there. So we're kind of at crunch time when it comes to whether or not the artist can do it in 2026. Around the time that I was starting to despair, we got a pretty hefty payment from the guest tax, some back guest tax. So I know Stacy included some information about transient guest tax for you guys. I know sometimes it's not clear always that the tourism budget comes exclusively from transient guest tax. So there are no taxpayer dollars involved. It's only what we collect from Airbnbs, lodges, hotels, motels in town, within the city limits. So really, kind of what we're asking for is a budget amendment to allow me to dip back into the transient guest tax fund, our tourism fund, and extract an additional, 40,000 probably.
It'll depend on some additional grants that she's applying for, but 30 to 40 depending.
Yeah, yeah, to be used in this budget year. So as you guys know, the cutoff for this budget year has come and gone. But we're sitting on a significant amount of money still in that account. Transient guest tax can only be used for tourism things, so they can't go to streets, they can't, I know, they can't go to streets, can't go to even parks, which I think parks, could be okay, but, what they can be used for are very specific, and this mural fits within that, category perfectly. If we want to get this project done in 2026, ahead of 2027, which is the 20th commemoration of the tornado, then we really need to get on the ball and get that funding secured. Now, I don't have to have the amendment finished. We just have to have a commitment basically from City Council that says, yeah, we'll go ahead with the amendment, so I can get the artist scheduled. But it doesn't have to be finalized until the end of the year, and I'll let Susie speak to that a little more.
So the budget amendment process, we did one several years ago since I've been in this position, and it actually was for the tourism fund as well. It's basically like a mini budget process. So it would just be for this fund, and it gets published in the paper, you have a public hearing, approve it, and then it's sent to the state. So it's a pretty simple process, it just takes a few steps to walk through. And it has to be completed by the end of the year of that budget year. So like Heather said, it's not something that has to be completed tomorrow, just before the budget year is over. And that would give time towards the end of the year to see what grants come in and how much money is actually needed for that amendment process.
And I do have 2 more grants that are opening very soon that I can apply for, but they're smaller amounts. So one is specifically for murals, and that's through the Arts Commission, but that one's $7,500, and then there's another grant for $10,000 through the Office of Rural Prosperity. I don't think, if we were granted one, we would probably not be granted the other because they both fall under the Department of Commerce. But we would definitely qualify for both of those.
Well, council, questions for Heather or Stacy on the proposed request to use some of our extra transient guest tax revenues to help pay for the mural project?
So the transient guest tax goes to fund tourism, but then what's the sales tax? Doesn't that fund?
Sales tax, the city collects 1%. Half of that goes to the infrastructure capital improvement fund. The other half goes to pay off the Big Well bond on the building.
So the Big Well and tourism are technically separate
Yeah.
departments.
Yeah, so transient guest tax revenues just go for tourism activities.
So you mentioned that there would be no taxpayer dollars invested in this,
Yes.
because I don't want no taxpayer dollars in this thing. This is not a must-have to me.
I agree, and,
Okay.
and that's true.
Who does the site prepping and the priming?
We would have to hire that out, so, we weren't sure about time, for city employees, because we do need to clear out the fencing and the chlorine tanks there, yes.
They've been working on that.
So we planned on, someone like Hardinger's or a construction company coming in, taking that stuff out. They would also need to sandblast the outside to get it prepped and ready, and then another contractor come in and prime it. So we were planning to contract all that out, but over the winter when things were slow, they did actually go in and tear out the fencing pretty recently.
part of, built into that budget is that site prep.
Does this 50,000 cover all of that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's built in there.
Because I don't feel like it's up to our city employees to take it. They don't
No.
have the time to be messing with that. They have other things they can be doing.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
built in the budget to have that contracted out.
What
I thought what we put in the budget was just for our project update at the big well.
No, there's also 10,000 that was put into the tourism budget towards this project, that was put in during the budget time. There was money for the Bigwell Museum, the updates to the exhibits, and then 10,000 towards this mural project as well, out of the tourism fund.
What page is that on this thing?
It's not in, it's in my memo,
F.3.
but the full city budget isn't.
Well, no, I mean, the one y'all talk about right now, I've seen it, but now I don't find it.
On my memo on agenda item F3 in paragraph 2,
That's that whole page,
yeah. The estimated cost of the project is 50,000, that includes the artist fee, site prep and priming, and equipment rental that would be needed.
Second paragraph of the agenda memo F3.
But yes, Mark, to echo, there would not be any property tax dollars
Well,
in
you
this.
said it's all gonna come from transient.
From the
which is
guest
from
tax.
the motels and,
From the 7% collected on night stays.
I was talking about the city of Greensburg taxpayers.
Correct,
No.
no.
Now the
Unless
other,
for some reason they're
Because
staying
I
on
really,
the
to me, I'm
hotels.
sorry. I don't understand what the benefit to the city is doing this.
Mhm.
Are we gonna detour people off the highway to go by and look at it, you know?
Yes, people hunt, I mean, are we going to build a detour? No, but I'm confident that people will pull off the highway to go look at it. The Kansas Tourism website has a map of murals, and it's one of the most frequented pages. And people do hunt murals, kind of like geocaching all over the US. And it does have a benefit in helping to kind of warm the press and warm publicity coming up to the 20th anniversary. And it'll tell a story for Greensburg as far as the actual imaging itself. We're not putting up a postcard. We're not putting up a welcome to Greensburg. It's not going to be generic. It's going to be something really well thought out. It's going to be a story, and it's going to be specific to us, and it'll be interactive. And it'll be one more thing that people can say, oh, while we're here in Greensburg, let's go check that out. Or pull them off and say, oh, let's go see what else Greensburg has that maybe they didn't know about.
Is there gonna be a sign up that says there's a mural there? Cause if I'm driving down the road.
Yeah, I mean, there could be. Yeah, we certainly could do signage for it. We'd have to, that's a
I'm not
KDOT
against
thing
art
too,
by any
but.
means, I just don't see how, I mean, if I'm driving down the highway, I'm paying attention to,
Mhm.
traffic and stuff, so.
Yeah,
Like I said,
And that's
I'm not
valid.
against art, I'm just saying, I don't understand how it's gonna track. And like you said, you have maps with murals and stuff, but,
yeah.
and is that the best spot to put it at the pool?
Is it what?
Is it the best spot to put it at the pool? Cause if
Yes.
they put a
We,
highway through there, they're gonna tear it down.
well, they've been saying the highway was
Yeah, I
going
know
there
too, you know,
since I
but
was 10 years old, so I don't know how much longer.
Well, it's been
I'm
longer
gonna
than
have to wait,
that.
but, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, I think people stop off to see what's on there now. And I know sometimes when you're a resident, you're not plugged into tourism, and when you're in tourism, you're not necessarily plugged into what's going on residentially. So sometimes you don't see that crossover, but in my area where I am I'm in a front-facing tourism job every day. I'm seeing people, I'm talking to people, I'm sending them out in the city. I know that people would stop and see that and interact. Is it something we're gonna make money off of? No. but is it something that we could generate sales tax off of because they stopped and got gas even, or stopped at a restaurant, or stopped in at the Big Well? And, you know, I'm a big sales tax generator over there too. Our gift shop is amazing. So, I definitely think it is to the city's benefit to not necessarily buy in financially, because we don't need taxpayers to buy in financially, but it's to the benefit of everyone that lives here in the city, somehow, some way down the line.
I assume the tourism board will have the final say on what the content of the mural is.
So, I don't know that the tourism board necessarily will sign off on it. One of the reasons that we really picked Dave is because he does so much community engagement. So we've already had him out once. He spoke with, you know, kind of what we call stakeholders. So Stacy, and Kelly from the Art Center. We met with him and toured lots of canvas options. Initially, we were kind of hoping to put it on the elevator, but once we got down there, we realized the site was just gonna be too expensive. It was too expensive and too dangerous, basically. So then we started exploring other canvases. And that same day, we had a program with Dave at the senior center. We had another stakeholders meeting for any other adult that wanted to come in and put input with him about 4 o'clock. And then we also went to the high school senior classes art class and asked for their input. What would you want to see? What would excite you? You know, that kind of thing. So Dave really works with the community, built into the budget already. There's time and space for him to come back to Greensburg, meet with people, talk to people. What would you like to see? What's a must? What's something that would just infuriate you if you did see, you know, things like that. And he'll really take that input seriously while coming up with a design. I'm assuming somebody will have to sign off on it, but
I would like to make sure to see that somebody local signs off on whatever he proposes, just so that we don't have something that doesn't reflect community or our values,
I agree with that.
particularly with a non-local person coming in to do it.
Yeah,
So,
I'm just not sure as much about the mural process as Stacy from an artistic.
Well,
How big was it gonna be?
I'm sure he would have a concept he would show us before
Yeah.
starting work that we could
And
get
I was-
feedback on.
yes.
definitely between both the tourism board and the city council, I think that there would be some review there. And to answer your question, how big?
Yeah,
Covering the whole building,
around the whole swimming pool?
Yeah.
the whole thing. So a complete 360 walk around. Mm-hmm.
I've just seen some murals in Lawrence that would not represent the values and culture of Greensburg, Kansas.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
Yes,
I
and-
agree. Yeah. I mean,
Something way
he's
off.
an artist for money, so he does tend to work with what the person that's hiring him wants him to do. But he also did a really amazing mural for Joplin, Missouri. He was already scheduled to do it, and then they had their tornado, and he was like, do you guys even want this? Like, it seems almost grotesque to come in and do a mural because it's so frivolous. And they were adamant that they wanted him to come in and do the mural like directly after the tornado on something that was still standing, because they needed that beauty kind of back in their life, and they needed that sense of community, and they did all meet together. And he took lots of drawings from the kids and pretty much put them directly on the wall. So this story will be there, and it will be multifaceted. It won't be something generic or inappropriate.
I was thinking about attractions, why couldn't they paint something on the bottom part of the water tower? It's right there, the big well. Not that it has to be down there, but I mean, I think it'd be visually seen better
Mm-hmm.
right there where everybody goes versus
The height
Right.
working on
You
that
don't have to do
height.
it for the whole thing, you know,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that's why I was asking how big it was, like it was
Mhm.
20 feet tall by 30, and then still gonna get the circumference right, but
Mhm.
I think you're back to the logistics and the cost being prohibitive.
Yes.
good, I
We-
mean, that's.
It's working at height that really.
That's why
costs.
the grain elevator idea was abandoned, because thinking about that canvas, how big that,
We like today.
uh-huh.
And the equipment rental and the insurance and like, we just realized the higher off the ground you go, the higher the price tag goes considerably. So that was another reason we like this. We will have to rent some things already built in the budget, as far as lifts, but it's so much safer. Our community, our residents, our senior citizens, our kids can actually go help, number one, design, but also paint. They can be as much a part of the process as they care to be. And it just really takes away a lot of the liabilities as far as safety. So,
I guess one thing that I'll just observe, council, is consistently for many years, the city has been collecting more in this transient guest tax than we've been spending, which is why we built up this very large cash balance. And whether it's on this project or another project, I don't think it's good practice for a municipality to be collecting a tax, even if it's not from our locals, and not putting that revenue to use. So, whether it's this project, another project, and honestly, we can afford to do this project and one or two other big projects with the cash we have on hand. It's just a matter of what we think, you know, how can we best apply those funds for the betterment of our community as a whole, and what form that takes.
do you
But-
guys have access to that cash balance?
Yeah.
Yeah, 329,804.
Okay.
And typically, in a typical year, we're spending what, 80 to 90,000?
Mhm.
So we've got 3 to 4 years worth of cash sitting in that fund, and usually best practice for a fund like that is 25 to 40%. So, like I said, it'd be good to have some ideas of how we can spend that down. Again, could include this project and other things. But just something to think about when we're looking at, you know, these resources we have available to us, we should be doing something with, otherwise why are we collecting that tax?
And this is a one-time and 20-year kind of thing.
And I don't disagree with any of that. I'm in favor of doing a budget amendment. I will say the dollars generated by the tourism tax or the hotel tax, I get asked about a lot. What is the benefit from having the hunting lodges specifically and all those people in our residential communities? And the rhetoric that I always spew out is it's generating tax dollars that are gonna go into our community and hopefully make your life better. And I think it's a tough sell to say, well, we're making murals, doesn't that make our lives better as community members? And so I don't know, I think it's probably a discussion for another night, not related to this specific thing, but how can we maybe reallocate where that tax has gone to, so it's not all to tourism, but can maybe go into something else that can benefit our residents better?
There's some state statute that governs transient guest tax, even though we have chartered out and have our own charter ordinance regarding it. There still are some guardrails, and I know recently there was a legislative post audit done by the state of 3 cities and how their guest tax funds were spent. Because some of those questions were coming up at the state level, how are these being spent? And they wanted to make sure they were being spent for tourism-related activities. So that there are some parameters in there, but yes, could we explore that? Because I think you can look at the history of those revenues over the last decade to see, to the hunting lodges, see the impact of those room nights and those stays in how our revenues have increased.
But I think the added burden, I think if we can get a better value proposition to the residents and say, hey, this is how it's gonna benefit you, and it's not just murals and, so. If we have other
Well,
options,
sales
I'd love
tax
to-
for
I'd love to
another
see it.
thing, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
those.
the sales tax for sure is a thing too,
Mhm.
but again, half of that goes to the big well, and I think a lot of the local residents would say, we like the big well, we want to keep it, but
Mhm.
it doesn't impact my daily life, but not being able to park in front of my house does.
Well, and I guess to that question, you know, what impacts would people like to see?
I agree. Yeah.
I think that's a good discussion to have another night, would be what guidelines are there, how we can and cannot spend those dollars, because we've got a decent kind of nest egg built up there, and so how we put that to best use for our community.
And I would just say too that our tourism board meets every second Wednesday monthly at 4 p.m. So people can always come to see, you know, I include our expenditures at every meeting. So the public is always welcome. They can come see the things that we are supporting with our tourism budget as well. You know, we've hosted a ton of events at the theater last year, and most of those that attended were residents. And I think quality of life matters too, not just streets. But yeah, I'm open to, I would love to better incorporate locals into tourism activities and tourism activities and events. So we would love to hear what the public thinks we could be doing that would benefit both.
And to be clear, I'm not against tourism and I'm not against the mural, but I just think that is a question that we should probably ask of.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, council, I think really the question that for us to answer today, it's not a final one, but just as a consensus, would council be open to a budget amendment for the tourism fund this year to allow spending an extra up to $40,000, it sounds like, to help fund out the mural project if that amount is necessary?
Yes, because you did already put 10 in, so I would say that would cover like the contractor. So we could do building prep on the 10 that's already been added into the tourism budget, and then that leaves the 40 for the actual painting and housing of the artists and equipment rental, so on.
So Matt, are you asking for a motion or just
No, I don't think we're at a motion. I mean, that
a
would,
consensus of
a
everybody?
consensus, is it worth spending the staff time to begin that process?
Okay.
So that they have kind of a guarantee,
And
reasonable expectation that once that's presented to council, it would be approved.
also so that we can engage the artist to get on his calendar.
Is this figure pretty rock solid? Is
Yes.
$50,000?
There's a lot of research that has gone into that
I mean,
50,000.
you
Yeah.
said 40,000 from tourism,
Yes,
and that's not gonna change?
it should.
When it comes time for us to approve this amendment, whatever, but we need 15,000 more than what we talked about.
I get pretty into the budget, as far as when I get into numbers. So, I mean, I did everything, including equipment rentals to the day, and then some. So I'm pretty confident in a sum of 50,000.
Okay.
I would be fine with it. I'll kick it off.
Dave?
What's that?
Just kind of first, yes, no, would you be okay with the budget amendment as presented?
Yeah, well, yeah.
As long as we're not taxpayers, I like to say it's okay.
Sounds like general consensus that would be open to up to $40,000 budget amendment to help fund this project, so you guys want to start that process? Sounds like council is amenable.
When you say you meet your tourism board?
Next meeting's tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. We did have to push it back a week because I was in Topeka last week for a regularly scheduled meeting, so we do meet tomorrow, 4 o'clock. We're always in the conference room behind the soda fountain.
Is it always at 4
Always at 4.
on Wednesday?
Yes. It predates me. We had a lot of people on bankers
Just-
hours.
FYI, it is part of the bylaws of tourism that a governing body member must be a part of that board. I am currently the liaison for city council. If anyone else wants to do that,
You did a good job, man.
start it out there. If anyone's really interested,
Wednesdays are not
I
good.
could be talked into, advocating that responsibility.
Well, we started on Mondays, but when sports parents, it was like almost impossible for them to be able to get there. And we tried to keep a seat open for the media center too, and they're just all over the world for sports. So Wednesdays, we were thinking, okay, there's no sport on Wednesday, so it would be the easiest day to try to catch people, but every day has a challenge for someone somewhere is what we're funding, so. But, yeah, okay, cool.
I think that takes care of
Awesome.
what we need to take care of tonight.
Okay, I'll inform the board tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, we will move on to our final item of business tonight, and that's just looking at maybe another grant application for the Transportation Alternatives Grant to maybe add some more sidewalks after this project is done.
Correct. Another project to take your temperature on to see if you're interested in pursuing. The Transportation Alternatives Grant Program through KDOT is open again. It comes open every 2 years. And we were awarded this last round for the current sidewalk project that we're working on. I did include some maps with the agenda packet. You'll see in I believe it's purple, the current project locations. It does kind of look like a hodgepodge, but we are making connections around town where there's some sidewalks already and filling in those gaps. And then I've been talking with PEC about some potential locations of where we might add some more sidewalks, looking at businesses and services here in town that people might be walking to that there aren't sidewalks to, or there's partial sidewalks. So you'll see on the map quite a few areas of town, and they've been divided into 4 sections. Kansas Avenue along the highway section, west, which is basically just west of Main Street, an east section, and then Poplar Street is part of that east section. PEC has included some cost estimates, and these are including a 4.5% inflation cost, so they are conservative estimates that are definitely on the high side, but knowing that this grant is a 2-year cycle, that costs can go up, they wanted to make sure and have enough in those estimates. This current project that we were awarded for, we're very happy to not have any match. Typically grants have some sort of local match requirement, and this time they had some funding available that our project is 100% paid for this time. That is not the case this time, and that is why I'm bringing it to you for your consideration to take your temperature. This time it is a minimum local match of 20%. And so I've included those cost estimates of the different portions of town, and then what 20% would look like. So the overall, if we were to do all of it, what we've mapped out there is $1.8 million, and 20% of that is $377,000. And then you'll see each of the smaller sections priced out there. I actually gave you a printout because one of my numbers, the math wasn't right, and so if you'll refer to the printout that I gave you, that actually gives what that east section I had incorrect was. So everything else is correct. I had a mistake on the east number that included Poplar. So something for conversation. You know, we do have donation funds that are available for community type projects. You know, this could also potentially be some funding out of the infrastructure fund from that 0.5% sales tax. You know, to me, this is a long-term investment, something that will last decades for our community, and to get 80% of it paid for would be quite a thing. So I guess I would just also say, you know, looking at that map, it may seem like a hodgepodge, but it was really intentional to look at other services here or retail. One is the Iroquois Center. We have quite a few residents that walk that way down Grant Street, and there are no sidewalks there. Connecting back to the courthouse and to the Family Dollar, and continued connections from the Art Center and Boy Scout cabin and Big Well area to Dillon's. There's a few sections in there. So continuing to make some connections throughout town to services for people.
Well, I see one of the blue lines going through my property, and I do not want it. And I talked to my neighbor, and he does not want it. There wasn't a sidewalk there before the tornado, and I don't want one there. The sidewalk you see, like on the southwest corner of the property, that was the parking lots, all
Yeah.
the apartments used to be.
Right.
That's all that was there. The rest of it, there was nothing on my side of the road. South side of the road, you can still see the part of the
Mhm.
sidewalk. And Steve, I haven't had a chance to talk to him or anything, but, and I talked to Chris Woodley, and he was fine with it. Now, that block that goes from Sycamore to Iowa, the whole thing had been sidewalk all the way around it. Grandma took his kids,
Yeah.
ragging it, all the time. But there was never, ever a sidewalk on where I live now, my property. And I don't even want one. I got a sprinkler system, I got the trees. I don't want roots getting cut, trees dying, sprinkler system getting damaged. I don't want to even deal with it. So I'm a big NO on the grant to one at Sycamore, my side.
Well, I think just looking at building city infrastructure, including sidewalks for the entire town, it was easy, yes, when we don't have to put any skin in the game. But 20% out of $1.5 million is a lot of money. And we'd have to, it's just a discussion of, is that the best application of some of the resources we have available, or are there other projects that could be more beneficial to our community as a whole than continuing to expand our sidewalk system?
Does it have to be residential? Because I had somebody talk about maybe at the industrial park putting a sidewalk around there for people to go and walk around. That's just what they had brought up. I don't know if it has to be inside there. Is the industrial park part of the city?
It is, it's in the
Okay, so-
city limits, it goes per the BTI. Yeah, there's no specification as far as location. This is just a rough, none of it's set in
That's
stone.
fine.
It was just a proposal, and I think to the mayor's point, is this something you're interested in? If not, that's fine, but just want to present the opportunity and see if you're interested.
I think for this specific grant program, being transportation alternatives, what they're looking for would be sidewalks connecting, homes to businesses or services, things like that. This is not a walking trail program, which is really what we would have if we put something out of
Yeah,
there.
like I said, that's just what.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what I said.
But that would just probably impact, we'd be less likely to get the grant if we applied for it, if that's kind of the size of the community building. But, there's also maybe something to be said of, let's finish up our current project before worrying about building more. Because again, this doesn't come up every year, but this is, I'm guessing, kind of an established program that will come up every once in a while. And, maybe we finish this one off, catch our breath, and then reassess down the road. But just another thing, kind of echoing what I said, when we were looking at the transient guest tax dollars, we do have a decent amount built up in our donation fund. We've got a very generous individual who's given us money pretty regularly, and I think it's good to continue to try and put that money to best use for our community rather than just sit on it. So encourage council to again just think, are there places we could be investing those monies to benefit our community and kind of honor the intent of the people who have donated those to us?
I agree with the mayor about $307,000 is a lot of money to be investing in something like this sidewalk for a block that goes across nothing but vacant lot. I'd like to see the project we're already committed to done first before we tie into a second one like this. So we never know that $307,000 might get us out of a hole somewhere on something. We would have wished we would have had it back.
Does it have to be new sidewalk? Can it be where existing sidewalks are at, you just can't see them because the grass grew?
Most of those are probably too far gone. It has to meet ADA requirements, and so most of the sidewalks that we have that are existing, if the grass is growing over them, they're probably not in great shape.
Well, council, really the decision today is, do we want to go ahead and move forward with another grant application for the same program at this time? Or do we want to maybe worry about finishing our existing project and maybe revisit it another day if we maybe want to look at expanding our we're already building.
Set this one out.
I think I'd be fine setting it out. I'd be curious how many linear feet of sidewalk we could buy with $300,000 if we didn't have to play with the federal government's rules and guidelines with the grant. And
For
doing
paying for it all
indigenous
ourselves.
Person searches and whatever all that kind of stuff is that the federal government puts on us. Engineering that costs $500,000 and sidewalk. It's not rocket science.
Well, but devil's advocate, we do need to be sure if we're building these sidewalks in front of existing structures, things like that, we need to know where sprinkler systems are, where utilities are.
And
Trees.
Want to do your homework first, which is.
Absolutely.
which is why you've seen all the survey flags around town.
Maybe ask citizens if what they think about more sidewalks, because now it's been like almost 20 years, and there's trees established, there's people who don't have a sidewalk, don't want a sidewalk. But, you know, or like Popular Street, Popular never had a sidewalk on either side.
And that, I was not advocating for that.
Right,
That just got
that's
put
why.
in the map as we were talking about different features, they added that in there just as an alternate, so. And again, it wouldn't have to be, I agree, I'm fine with waiting till the next round getting this, but it wouldn't have to be that we do all of those, it could be smaller portion.
I hate to be an engineer too, to walk along the street and say, well, there's a sprinkler system here, we need to figure out what we're gonna do with that, you know?
Mhm.
I just soon get through this first one, we'll go from there.
Fair enough,
Sounds like that's a consensus, so we'll just sit this grant round out.
fair enough.
All right, that does take care of our items of business tonight, so we will move on to city staff reports. Stacy?
Ooh, now I'm gonna have the trouble you guys were having on your tablets. So I guess I'll just try to remember what I put in it. You have it in your or you should have it in your Dropbox or your Google Drive. I know we read meters end of last week, and we'll be sending out bills end of this week. The boiler is being installed at Public Works that you approved at the last meeting. I know Mick said he was down at Public Works yesterday to let Intergreen in to work on that some more. It's not quite finished, but they're still working on it. On Thursday, I will be at KPP Energy in Wichita for the monthly board meeting.
Tree City USA.
Thank you. Yes, we received notification that our Tree City USA application for 2015 certification was approved.
City Leaders Academy.
Yes, the league is offering a City Leaders Academy. I believe it's April 17th in Salina. It is a one-day in-person, really geared towards governing body members, educating on everything from meetings, how they run, open meetings, and all sorts of governing body things. So if you are interested, I think it would be a very worthwhile time for you. I know it is on a Friday to go to that, but if you're interested in attending, please let me know and we can get you registered to go to that.
Where was that at?
It's in Salina. And alternately, I've passed on a couple other resources that the league provides. They are a great resource to us, both for governing body and for employees, to provide support to cities across Kansas. Was that all my bullet points, Mayor?
I think so.
Okay. Chief Dennis's monthly report was also in the agenda packet if you have any questions for him or I.
Questions for Stacy or Dennis?
How many semis do you pull over a week, a day?
Whichever one is speeding or committing traffic violations.
Because there seems to be a lot, not that you guys can be out there all the time, but I don't know, that is my biggest pet peeve, is those semis driving as fast as they do through town. I think if we got the reputation of pulling them over, it would.
We do have that reputation.
Not everybody knows yet, but I ain't saying you're not doing your job, I'm just saying, I think that, like yesterday, I was getting ready to go to Pratt, and, left me behind. I was going to speed limit, and they was walking away from me, and that was just right there. And I think it irks me more than anything, that kids are going to school and out of school. I think we need to have somebody up there on the highway. Yeah, most of the kids live on this side, but there's a few that are on the north side. But that's just ridiculous. Kids getting out of sports, go on the highway, and the semis are just like they don't care. Highway speed.
Well, I know most of the time before and after school, Chief is in the school zone, sitting by the school to monitor traffic around the school
And that's fine too,
during
but I
that
mean,
time.
you gotta worry about when the kids are,
Yeah.
Well, and traffic stops are part of the stats that are part of the PD report. 75 on the current one. Is there any way to kind of differentiate what are traffic stops of commercial traffic versus non-commercial traffic?
Probably dig into that.
I mean, just asking the question, not saying it needs to be done. but-
right, they're just, I don't know, just.
I would invite anybody who wants to come and watch. I get, everybody thinks how fast they're going, but they're not going as fast as you think they are. In my previous job, we had a guy that complained. Cars are driving 40, 50 miles an hour on a residential road. I go up there, I said, how fast that car going? 40 or 19. So I've been doing this 31 years, and I can't tell you how fast the truck is going unless I get it with a radar. So, I mean, we pull them over when we get the opportunity to pull them over if they're breaking the law, if they're committing a traffic violation, we'll pull them over. I sit, sometimes in the morning, I'll sit facing north, by the post office, just off the side of the road, to get them running the lights. Everybody says, oh, they run the lights all the time. I'm gonna get one a week. So,
I'll go with you sometime.
okay.
I have a question for you right quick, Dennis.
Okay.
Now that we've repealed this ordinance about we can have anything out on the streets, the electric scooters, whatever, golf carts, stuff,
Right.
those type of vehicles and stuff still have to comply with traffic rules, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Bicycles have to
I just
abide by
curious.
traffic rules. Like a regular bicycle.
I just want,
They have to stop the stop sign, they have to stay on the right side of the road, yeah.
I just wondered, I followed a scooter through town the other evening, and I stopped at the stop sign, and he blew right on by me, and we got to Main Street, and he was behind me. He was ahead of, he was behind me, because I passed him again. I got to Main Street, stopped, went on across, looked up, and he was right behind me. He never stopped. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that changed a whole lot.
Nope. And in fact, I think when Stacy put it on with the utility deal, she said that you still have to obey the law.
Ooh, on, Colfax,
Mhm.
let's just say from Grove going to Maine, there's excess chat there, and it got pushed up into the yards, snowplow.
Yeah, we had a resident call about that already.
So I'm
Mhm.
seeing like the street sweepers running. We wouldn't have that problem. I'm just gonna be one who's gonna be picky about the street sweeper going, cause I don't know why, if they think it's a punishment to be in it, I don't know, haven't talked to them, but that street sweeper needs to run more than it does, cause there shouldn't be sediment that's curved to the street that hadn't got weeds growing in it. That's ridiculous, I don't care. I think that'd help keeping the cracks on the edges of the street getting worse with the weeds growing in. Cause that street sweeper's not gonna get them all, but it's gonna take them out. Chemical's not gonna get all, if you have rain, also it's gonna wash the residual stuff away. I don't know, I think that street sweeper, when the weather's right, it needs to be running. Cause North Sycamore, that street's ridiculous of how much sediment's built up in the curb. And other parts of town.
Council, any other questions for city staff? Do we have any governing body comments tonight? Hearing none, we do have one executive session scheduled to discuss matters of non-elected personnel for 10 minutes.
I'd make a motion to go into executive session for non-elected personnel until 7:30.
and seconded to go into executive session until 7:30. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Executive session. we are back in open session. No action taken by council. And that does bring us to the end of our agenda tonight. So we will adjourn the meeting. Thanks for your time.